Okay. All right. So we did this the other day. Joe was supposed to tape it. He fucked up. So we gotta
That's
do it
on me. I'll
again.
do push-ups later.
And I had more time to think about it. So maybe we'll have even like a more advanced conversation than we did last time. So since we have some students here, we'll have a couple students listening later. Maybe we could start by like both of you like just giving like 2 minutes on like your background with grit and growth mindset.
Akib, you go first.
Oh man. All right. So just I'll just do a quick overall background. So I grew up in Northern Virginia. Both my parents are public school teachers. Grew up running. It's something my dad introduced me to at a young age. And then when I got to high school, I started running cross country and track. And then I ran throughout college. I went to West Point with Joe. We were the same year, although we didn't really know each other at school. And I ran on the track and cross country team for a year, and then I ran 3 years on the club marathon team. We had a marathon team that would run at least two marathons a year. I got to run Boston 3 or 4 times, ran New York, Philly, Big Sur, Athens, Greece. So awesome, great
Yeah.
opportunity to do that at school around a bunch of other really competitive um, teammates. My last year there, I got to be the captain and the coach of the team. And the team sent me to New York City to train under a bronze medalist, Elaine Muller from New Zealand. And she kind of taught me and another one of my teammates the Lydiard training methodology. Commissioned in 2018 into the infantry as a Army infantry officer. Went to basic officer leadership course around the same time as Joe, and then went to Ranger School. I spent a little longer there than probably I don't know Joe how long you spent there, but I was 4 months out there um, in the mountains and the swamps, and then I served my time in the Pacific, primarily in Hawaii as a platoon leader. Then I was an aide de camp. I got to compete in a Army competition and finish best ranger competition. And my final year in the Army, I coached a team, and I had two finishing teams. So that's kind of my background. And I'm still a runner to this day. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Akib. Yeah, so I'm Joe Karsanovich, also West Point class of 2018. My overarching theme for this grit thing is that like I'm just kind of similar to Akib, just kind of a scrappy dude. I don't think anyone is going to look at a 5'8", 170-pound guy and be like, wow, what an impressive athlete. Um, and I grew up kind of half in Texas, half in New Hampshire. I played football and lacrosse, ran indoor track growing up, but I just ran indoor track to stay in shape for football and lacrosse. I played quarterback and safety, and I played long stick midi for my high school. And then I went to West Point. I was a walk on. Like being a walk on at West Point, it's like everyone's on scholarship. So coach can basically recruit as many guys as he wants, and they're all on scholarship. And so like I was one of the guys that didn't get an official offer, but walked on. So I played two fall ball seasons for Coach A, Army lacrosse. Learned a lot from the failures. Getting cut twice sucks, but learned a lot from that. And still really, really good friends with all those guys. And then, yeah, commissioned, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, got to sweat like crazy down there in Georgia for basic infantry leaders course stuff. Ranger school, spent a couple months there. Got to jump out of planes. It's really not that difficult. Anyone in this group could do it in like 3 minutes. And then, yeah, spent my time at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where I deployed to the southern border for 9 months. Lived in a Marriott for 270 plus days. They loved me over there. And then came back, went to an advisor unit, went over to Lithuania for a summer in 2023, got to advise a Lithuanian army battalion. So basically, advise a leader of about 600 soldiers. It's very strange being a 27-year-old captain advising a 40-year-old lieutenant colonel with 15, 20 years of service, advising him on what he should do with his unit. A lot of growing up there. And as a part of that unit, I also got to compete in the best ranger competition. We finished up top of the bottom third, so that's a place to finish. But it was limited success and learned a lot from that. And my overarching, and now I'm back at the southern border again because reasons. And I'm looking to get out of the army here soon. But like to sum that all up, like to frame for this conversation, like I feel like one of my superpowers is that I have failed more things than a lot of people are willing to try. And I think a lot of what I'm willing to do to try different things to find success is like really led me, even though I've failed a lot of things, like failed. Like I feel like it's helped me like succeed in other ways. So I'll stop there. Tom, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so a couple points of clarity there. One, when Akib talks about running, he runs really, really fucking fast. Don't let anyone, don't let him kid you. He's an elite runner. And the second is, if you don't know what the best ranger competition is, it's 3 days, right? Is it 3 days? 3 days of like the most grueling combination of physical endurance, strength, tactical ability, and like shooting guns and military shit, all like rolled into one. And it's done in teams of two. So you cannot complete anything without your partner. So it's basically like the toughest like overall competition there is in the military. So, uh, so I guess this definition of term, like, what do you when someone says growth mindset, what do you mean? Keep.
Yeah. So I'll like tell you what I think it means, and I'll give you like I think the best example from my personal life of how I kind of learned how to have growth mindset. And it was so to me, growth mindset means being able to and Tom, we talked about this last time, but really being able to reach your highest potential through a series of sort of mental shifts that occur over time. It's about adaptability, means your ability to adapt to a situation and learn from your mistakes. We talked about this last time, like winning, winning is great, but it's really hard to take a lesson away from winning because when you win, you feel like you did the work already and you just want to go home and chill out and kind of be happy. When you lose, you have to look at yourself in the mirror afterwards. You have to reflect. And, it's interesting. The best example I have of that in my life was not a physical challenge. It was a mental one. I worked for a general as his direct assistant for an entire year, and he was insane. We would land in an airport, and he would look at me and ask me for the cardinal direction of the rental car place and the distance. And if I didn't know, he would basically call me a failure to my face. And he was extremely tough on me, almost unnecessarily. But in the beginning, when I first had him, I was used to being praised. I'd just competed in Best Ranger. I'd finished. I'd done well in the Army. All of my leaders liked me. And this guy was always criticizing me. And I felt like a failure every single day. And one day, someone pulled me aside and told me, hey, listen, you need to get rid of the fog. Like when you fail, when he tells you fail, you have to learn to listen to what he says, understand why you made a mistake or what you could do to fix it, even if it wasn't your fault, and then move on very quickly. And that lesson was kind of a lesson, one, in humility, and two, in letting go of my ego. Like, okay, I messed up. I can't get stuck on messing up. I just have to understand what I could do better and then move on. And it was the only way that I survived in that job. In fact, the guy who replaced me after a year, I told him before I took the job, hey man, one weekend you're gonna call me, and you're gonna either be crying or you're gonna be thinking about quitting, or he's gonna say that he's fired you. And he called me a week later, and I told him this is gonna be harder than Ranger School. This is gonna be harder than anything you've done physically. You're gonna have more adrenaline and you're gonna have more cortisol running through your body than you did in any physical thing you've done. He didn't actually believe me at first, and he called me a week in, And he was like, "Hey man, I'm fired." He says I have to pack my stuff, and I was like, "Stop, calm down. I told you this would happen. Go back into the office, present your plan to him, tell him how you're going to fix it, be very direct. When you want to take a step back, you have to take two steps forward. You have to kind of push through that." And I think that was probably for me, at least personally, the most adaptive job I've ever had to do. Everything after that, and I think everyone has experiences like this, but and I'm sure something will be harder in the future, but everything after that so far has actually been way easier because I learned in that 12 months to kind of adapt my thinking. But yeah, sorry, that's kind of
No,
a
it's
longer
good.
answer. Not sure
Joe,
if
what do
that's what
you?
you're looking for.
Not yet, Joe. What do you think when we talk about growth mindset? What are you thinking?
So plain and simple, I think that there's a better version of me out there somewhere. Like whatever belief or spiritual, whatever you think of, I just think like right behind me all the time, there's like the best potential version of Joe Carso. And that guy does everything he's supposed to do. He does it right. He does it with and without emotion when he's supposed to. And I think growth mindset is like finding a way to speak to that version of yourself. Like I know that seems like so kind of out there, but like whenever I'm going through something difficult, I try to like think like, all right, like I feel sorry for myself right now. This is something I don't want to do, but the better version of me can see the value of this. So how can I tap into that? And like some of the best experiences I've had was like with Army lacrosse. Like we had like a mental sports psychology guy, and he would always talk about that. It's like think about the guy who makes the play in the right moment, and then also think about when you make a mistake, when you're feeling sorry, like do you talk to yourself the way you would talk to a teammate? Like there are things I say to myself that I would never say to a Keeb if he and I were best Ranger partners, you know? And is that the right way to go about talking to myself? And so growth mindset is more how can I squeeze all of the juice out of this towel that is my potential and just try to continue moving forward, especially it really only counts when you're doing something that you don't want to do because all of us can love, having fun sitting on the beach BSing about our Strava run times, right? Like that's easy. But like when you actually have to go do the work, like how are you talking to yourself? How are you going through it? And that's growth mindset to me.
So how is that related to grit and discomfort?
I think, and sorry, go ahead. I think the way that it's related to grit is part of having grit, and you guys hear this is instead of backing away when you feel a little of that fear or that feeling in your gut that makes you nervous before competition, or when you see somebody that you think is extremely successful and you're gonna have to be in the arena with them, instead of backing away, you embrace that experience, you embrace that as an opportunity to grow, you embrace that as an opportunity to achieve the kind of mastery that Joe was talking about. There is a version of Joe Carso out there. I mean, he's a complete failure right now, but there's a version of him out there that I'm kidding, that's doing everything right. And you have to remember, you will never. I used to tell my old boss, "Hey, it won't happen again," and he was like, "Don't say that because it might and it probably will, but it'll happen less and you'll get better. You're just gonna keep getting better, and you just have to realize you are approaching, you're asymptotically approaching that perfect version of yourself. You know what I mean? You're continuing down that path, and the only way to do that is when you want to take a step back, you step in, you go through. The only way out is through, um, and I think that's kind of how it relates to grit.
Yeah,
So
John,
how?
you played soccer. Quinn, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, good, Joe.
Yeah, Quinn, what do you play sport?
I row.
You row, sick, a lot of rowers. So I'm just going to try to relate to rowing and soccer. It's like I didn't play those at a high level at all. I've never rowed anything in my life except for like this one little like inflatable boat at Ranger School.
Hmm.
That doesn't count. And but there's so many times where you can just like fake and take it easy. And I think grit, it's one thing to be Rocky in the arena and like fighting Apollo Creed and like having grit in that moment in competition because like that's when your adrenaline's up, that's when your cortisol's up, that's when everything is coming down to this and like being gritty there. But like I know a lot of guys in the best Ranger competition circles say like the competition is not in April. The competition is in November, December, January, February, like all of these super boring but important training days. Because none of them really, no individual day of taking PKs or like rowing technique, no single day matters. But like all of those things add up, and having the grit to go through just like the most boring, seemingly meaningless thing, I think that is the hardest version of grit. Because when my parents are watching me shoot and miss with my pistol at the best range of competition, I have no choice but to be gritty and keep pulling the trigger. But like when my parents aren't there, it's 4 a.m. in Colorado in January, and I'm putting a 45-pound bag on my back to go walk for 2 hours. Like I could walk at a 15-minute pace if I want, or I could do what I'm supposed to do and have the grit to do that. So that's how I think that connects to grit.
So how do you translate that in terms of leadership style, growth mindset, and grit? How do you teach it to others, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a slow process, and obviously as a leader, and you guys are athletes, you guys are leaders already, and I think you'll continue to be given like your backgrounds, John, Quentin. But I think as a leader, you have to cater one to who you're leading. So you have to understand who you're leading, and different people react differently to different things. And there's some people that need to be pushed really hard, that want to be pushed really hard. They want to be challenged. There's other people that are not used to that, and you kind of have to slowly bring it on. But I think it's through a series of experiences. The Akib Saeed you see in front of you now, there are things that I did that were 10 times harder at the end of my career in the Army, that if you had me do them at the very beginning of my time at West Point, I would have completely failed and been on my knees crying. Um, but because I was put through different challenges slowly, and it kind of forged a strength. And slowly you get stronger and better. And Joe remembers this when we were cadets at West Point. We would look at people with a Ranger tab and be like, wow. And we'd be like, how was that? Did that suck? Like, how'd you make it through that? And then we did it. And then we were like, okay, anyone can do it. And I remember having one particular soldier, and he really wanted to go to Ranger school. And he was like, sir, I'm scared. Like, I don't know if I can make it. And I told him, hey, man, like, let's do a training plan. I promise you, in 3, 4, 5 months from now, you're going to call me on graduation day, and you're going to laugh. And you're going to tell me how that did suck, but how, like, yeah, you just shouldn't have doubted yourself. And you're going to look around you and be like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And he gave me that call on his graduation day. So I think it's a combination of putting people through challenging events based on where they're at as a leader, and then truly actually believing in them and continuing to believe in them. Because sometimes people don't believe in themselves, and they need that mentor, that leader, or that inspiring figure to kind of tell them they can do it.
Yeah, and like how does that translate over to like your boat or your midfield line or like just any day during practice or at school? Like I don't really believe in balance. I believe in trade-offs. I think there are some times where if somebody came up to me, I don't care if it was my own mother, like if in certain spots, like during training, and they were cheering me on with all this positive rah rah, like you can do it, Joe. It's like, dude, that's not very gritty right now. Like I don't need that right now. I need my dad telling me not to be a coward, or something like that. And like training the grit, I think the only way you can do it is through exposure. Like we have all these pretty like VO2 max machines. We all wear heart rate monitors all the time. Like my Whoop knows me better than anybody on the planet. But like when it gets gritty, like I was in a land navigation course during a tryout for this special thing, and of which I failed. And there was a moment where I was like waist deep in freezing cold water with like a 65-pound bag on my back. And like I know the weights of bags kind of like can seem weird if you've never had a heavy hiking bag on your back for hours at a time. But dude, guys, I swear to God, if Margot Robbie was sitting in a bathtub in front of me with a ribeye and a loaded baked potato from Texas Roadhouse, I would still just feel like the saddest puppy on the planet. And then like being able to like grit my way through something like that, now I know it's like, all right, like that was the worst day I've ever had. physically and mentally as like a trainee. And so everything below that, okay, I have a hard PT test tomorrow. Like, all right, it's not as bad as like crying myself to sleep in a sleeping bag because I just failed something. So I think, and then being there, like other guys just giving you a pat on the back. I'm going to steal a line from Akib is like, I've remembered I've had moments where guys have like looked at me and been like, Joe, you were made for this. Like right before the best range of competition, my coach pulled me and my partner to the side. And he's like, you guys have built yourselves into being ready for this. Like, make a mistake at 100 miles an hour and we'll figure out the rest.
So how much? I mean, I'm trying to like relate it to how I mentor CEOs, and I do often think about like they need to know that I love them first before I beat the living shit out of them, because I'm gonna beat the living shit out of them. And if I don't have that kind of like groundwork of that they understand that I'm doing it because I love them, it's not gonna work because they're just gonna say fuck you and walk out of the room. Do you like think about it that way, or how do you? What are the words, or what are the concepts you use to kind of build that bedrock of trust, basically, that then you can use to try and influence the growth mindset over time, particularly because I totally agree that praise is important, but like it's way less important than the radical truth of what's going on. Um, when someone just doesn't want to fucking see it, and they need to be, they need to be woken up, again and again and again. So talk about like that bedrock of trust and how you establish that, either in the army or in a work context or whatever, however you want.
Yeah, I think there's like several factors there. Number one, and Tom, you're the great example. You already have a ton of credibility as a business leader. Um, and so I think if somebody's coming to work for you, they probably want to be there. So you're already dealing with a self-selecting group of people that probably want to be there. They have the motivation to want to be CEOs, and they probably already look up to you. So I think there's trust and credibility. All the guys I coached, none of them had finished the competition. Some of them had competed before, so there was already a level of credibility there. And I had a rank above. I was a rank above him, so I had a couple more years of experience as a leader. I think when you deal with a self-selecting group of people, and that's because that's kind of what we're talking about. I mean, Quentin, John, you both have self-selected. I mean, you both self-selected you self-select to go out there when you train and just suffer. I mean, especially the rowing thing. Like rowing sucks. I went on the erg yesterday for like 40 minutes, and that sucks, man. And you do that every day, probably. I think it's really useful, and guys kind of find it really inspiring if you intersperse moments of intensity with being stoic. When I would train my guys, I would not show emotion. I wouldn't get pissed at them. I would just be like, do it again. And they'd come back and I'd be like, all right, do it one more time. And they'd be like, oh my God. They'd be the ones like showing a little bit of emotion. But like I would literally, one time I made them come out at 4 a.m. in the morning with plate carrier, weight vests on. And I was like, all right, you're going to do burpees every minute on the minute. You're going to start with one burpee. At 2 minutes, you're going to do 2 burpees. At 3 minutes, you're going to do 3. It sounds really easy in the beginning, but by the time you get to 20 burpees, like you're not stopping anymore. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, you have 2 minutes to rest. I'd hidden a speaker on the blacktop, like behind a pole on the blacktop. And I was like, get on the blacktop. And the beep test. I'm sure you guys have done the beep test. I just started it. I didn't say anything. And they were just like, they just knew what was happening. And I was like, all right, begin the beep test. They ran a beep and the whole day, but no one quit. And I wasn't being an asshole to anyone. I was literally just like, all right, follow, like if you want to be here, just you're gonna follow me. And I'm sure you guys have both experienced things like that with your coaches, where they've just been like, all right, you're running suicides, like get on the field, and you guys are just like, you just know what's happening, but you want to be there. And there's a lot of growth in that, especially when you don't know what's going to happen next. Because you're constantly either getting super frustrated or you're going into that meditative space where you're like, I'm not quitting. I live here now. Like we live in the cave now, and we're gonna be here. And so I think that would be kind of my answer. I think you inspire by your own credibility, and then by being someone they look up to. I think part of being that way, at least for me, in my experience, I found is to be completely unemotional. There are times when you need to just be completely unemotional and you just need to dig into people and destroy them, like you were talking about, Tom. And then there's times when you need to give them a little bit of love, but they need to know that you have their best interest at heart. Um, yeah, Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sweet man. All right, John, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. All right, and just answer us honestly. All right.
Totally fine. I'm
All
ready.
right. Does your coach love you?
Yes.
How do you know?
Uh, well, in short, I didn't get into the school the first time I applied,
Okay.
and so I had to take a whole extra year just to get in. And that whole way through, like, he was showing me companionship. He cared about me, and he wanted me to succeed. Therefore, he gave me like basically the first offer in the class of the next year, and then he was always checking in with me every week, and then he started me, and I played like the entire season as a freshman. So
Yeah, I bet you play your ass off for that coach because he like took a chance on you.
yeah, I would also say we have our issues, but yeah, for the most part.
Everyone has their issues, you know. But I think like trust begets trust. It's like first before I need to be putting my leadership on the spot, and trusting them, they need to trust me. And like as a player, like you're a younger guy on the team, starter, like whatever, like Quentin, whatever, any in the boat, like you guys have peers and stuff. Like if I was in a group of guys and we were getting smoked by our coach and Akib was in that group, I would probably be peeking at him. Everyone has that guy in the team where they kind of like peek at and are like, how's he responding? You know, it's like you're thinking in your head right now of like your captain, or maybe it's a guy who's not even a captain. Maybe it's a guy who honestly sucks because like that happens sometimes. It's a guy that sucks, but he's like the grittiest dude you've ever met, like blue collar kind of guy, doesn't get a lot of playing time. And by by what Keith was saying, like this credibility and like that works on yourself too. It's almost like a psychological operation you can run on yourself. It's like I do the things that a gritty person does, you know, and you can have an example out there, or you can just say like I'm just going to do the things that are gritty and trustworthy. And being a leader is if you can put yourself physically in a position to do that. Like Coach K isn't out there dunking, you know, to show his Duke basketball players, but he's showing them how much he cares. Like that kind of intangible, like give a shit. It's very obvious when a leader doesn't give a shit about like what's going on. But when I see my coach and like all of the like the wall ball drills we're doing are for 7 minutes, not six, not eight. It's like 7 minutes. We're on to the next thing. It's like he's given his time. So as a leader, any opportunity you get to like show them that like, hey, I trust you as a player. Like I'm going to bring you on next year. You need one more year to get into Wesleyan or whatever. But like these are like micro moments that happen, and it's like just it's such a cliche. But dude, people are watching every time. Even if you're just like that freshman, that senior might be looking up to you during conditioning and being like, damn, this sophomore is like giving a shit. Maybe I should too. And that's how like leadership, I think, continues to spiral out of control in a good way.
So I wanted to kind of dig back in. We were talking to Keeb at the tail end of the last conversation. It was actually after Joe like went off to defend the board or whatever the fuck he's doing. About and it actually is kind of the source of my initial interest in all this, which is there's all this like incredible. And then this is we're talking about endurance athletes basically now. There's all this incredible scientific training knowledge about how you construct training plans and so in a way like part of what I'm interested in is like how that actually distracts from building mindset. And so in the sport of rowing, the reason I started digging into this stuff is because at least from my perspective, it's become incredibly scientific in terms of how guys train. And so the intangible parts of preparation for competition have been de-emphasized, and I think to the detriment of the athletes. And what you were saying, a key was like in running, part of what the science is all about is that you need to do a lot of low intensity training in order to build the mitochondria in your legs or in your muscles or whatever. And so how do you balance the need for, like you were saying, like you like it's actually an ego thing to go do too much, zone four, zone five work because like it's just going to burn the shit out of you and you're not really going to make progress. And yet, from a mental perspective, at least for me, like there's all this science around the governor in your brain where you need to have a good amount of time in profound discomfort in order to like kind of break the governor and prepare for battle, basically. So how do you teach grit, teach growth mindset, um, get sharp mentally if 80% of the time you're going to be training at a level that's, zone two, which is basically, like you said, you come back from the run feeling like you could go do it again. How do you handle that, like, kind of conflict?
You know, I think a lot of it is understanding that when you show up on a day where you're supposed to be going easy or moderate, you really lean into that. Like an easy day should just be an easy day. There's way too many people that want to take an easy day and turn it into, at least runners that I know, turn it into a 6 minute mile day, 5:30 mile day, do 13 miles like that. I actually know a guy who does that every single run. I don't run with him anymore. Because that's what he runs for his training runs, 13 miles a day at like 5:30 to 6 minute pace. And then he races slightly faster than that. And it's really funny because he'll be like, yeah, it was my shoes. And I'm like, no, God, dude, it was literally the fact that you are going at 90, 80, 90% every single run. Like, I don't know how he doesn't get injured. That's a testament to his like physiological prowess, but it's not a sustainable model for performance. You can't it's just impossible to treat every day like it's competition day. It's just not sustainable. That would be mentally and physically exhausting. I think what is possible is to kind of periodize it. Like you need to spend a lot of time on feet in training in order to get to the point where you're ready mentally to kind of push for that competition. A lot of the best runners in the world take long, long breaks, and they run a lot of their runs at like 8 minute pace or slower. They'll run like 50% of their runs like that. I know some that just run super slow and then they can run like 220 marathons, 215 marathons. It's insane. Um, I think yeah, I think the best way to think about it, and I tell athletes this all the time, is like, yes, today you're running 9 minute pace, and that's like what you can maintain at a 150 heart rate. You're running 9 minute pace or 930 pace. But 6 months from now, you're going to feel the exact same way, and you're going to be running 830 pace. And maybe 2 years from now, you're going to be running 7 minute pace, and it's going to feel like it did when you were running 930 pace. When you see somebody who is comfortably running a 5:30 mile like Kipchoge, that's like pretty easy for him. He's not grinding. Like he wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm grinding every day. What he tell you is like, no, this feels really good. This feels really good. I am strong. I've created a base such that I can do this with a level of freedom that very few other people can. So I think teaching people that, hey, look, here's where you're at now, growth mindset, be aspirational, look at others who are faster than you, not with envy, but with admiration, and be inspired by that, because you can get there. You can become a better version of yourself. And it doesn't have to be this. A lot of people get way turned off from running because they're just like, running is my sports punishment. Running is this thing that I do when I've done a bad thing and coach tells me to go do some laps. And it's a grind and they just see red and it's painful, but I don't think that's a sustainable way to think about it. So Tom, I guess to answer your question, I think it's really just when you need to perform, or when you have a workout, a programmed workout once a week or once every 2 weeks, like you show up, you're ready, you slept the night before. You treat that as a performance metric, and everything else you kind of rest for that. So I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely true that at least in running, the average runner uh, runs their hard runs too slow and their slow runs too fast for sure. And it kind of is this horrible like averaging down. Um, I do think that I think one thing you said that's actually important there is and I'm still trying to figure out honestly in rowing how it all translates. I mean, they do like the some of the teams, some of the coaches that I admire the most, they actually do a lot of explicit mental training. So and it's a little different in that it's I think we explained last time it's a 6 minute race that involves a certain amount of rest on the recovery, which all of that means that the actual physical suffering is like completely maxed out. In terms of like the intensity of it, it's not like running a marathon. It's just like the actual physical pain. And so part of the skill is being able to continue to ratchet up your tolerance for that in the face of it. Um, But like in running, like they've kind of gone to a program where there are easy days, there are like steady state days, and then there are days when it's time to perform. And like if you treat each one of those like workout days as a mini performance, where you're kind of testing that upper boundary every single time, um, you're putting yourself in a position to learn and to um, use that growth mindset to continually kind of find where the boundary is further than where you thought it was. Like the upper bound of a capacity is continually getting broken. Um, I just don't know. Like, again, like I kind of came to this from frustration from being around the sport of rowing at the highest levels, and I don't think they very few people talk about that. They're just like, oh, well, go do this like really hard workout and do the best you can. Like it's not, it's not really. It's not thought about in terms of the mental preparation that's going on those hard days to get you in the place where um, going into big competition that you've already explored the places you're going to need to be mentally in order to perform at the highest level on the day you need to perform at the highest level, you know. Um, I think we talked about, I don't remember who, but we talked about a little bit last time about like how some of the athletes, like I did some interviewing on this, particularly with rowers and with ultra marathoners, both of whom a number of like the most elite athletes would talk about having workouts that they wanted to be able to achieve, like kind of in the last cycle before their biggest race. And that in essence, like the months and even years leading up to that big race was to be in a position where gradually they were able to, through cycles and cycles and cycles, get to the point where they're able to achieve that workout as a kind of test because they felt like if they could do that workout going into competition, they were going to be able to do what they needed to do to perform at the level that they wanted to perform. Does that make sense to you, Akib?
No, I think 100% does. And I think when you said treating every single like harder day as an opportunity to learn about yourself, I think you guys, Quentin, Max, welcome, and John, you might be able to think of a time where you've been in competition, at least, and I can definitely when I've been in a competition or a race and I've thought back to a really hard workout, and in my head I've thought, okay, this isn't I'm ready for this because I've done the work and I've done the hard thing. So like, and I'm excited. This is what that was for. Now I'm stoked to have the opportunity to push based off of that. I remember like running up a mountain once and just thinking back to I would do these treadmill runs at 10 to 15% incline and just be on the treadmill for 30 minutes or an hour. It sucks, especially when you have no headphones and you're in a YMCA gym staring at old people do calisthenics and you're just running up a treadmill, just in a pool of your own sweat. It's a basement gym. This is a real place in Colorado Springs. And I remember running up the mountain and just like passing like 20, 30 people because I just was like, okay, like the mountain ends. The treadmill doesn't actually end. Like you can just keep going on a treadmill. But I was like, this mountain is going to end. I'm going to get to the top of this thing. Like I'm going to get to the top and it's going to be over and then I'm going to go down. And it's a really powerful way when you can mentally pull back from an experience in training and apply it directly in competition.
Yeah, there definitely been times where I've thought in competition like this really fucking sucks. It really hurts, but like I actually hurt a lot more in training, like no doubt. And so like, what's the big deal? Like I'm actually rested today. Like like this is way shorter than stuff I've already done. Um, yeah, for sure. Um, and so when you did you guys watch that swimming video that girl Summer?
I have not had the chance yet. Have you,
Yeah,
Joe?
yeah. So like,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So like, what the thing that actually, so you said something earlier that I think is super important to remember, which is like, and I try and remember, frankly, when I watch my son row, because I'm always like out of my head, nervous for him, is that it's so much easier to learn from losing than winning. And so like when you see someone like her, like she has like the best swim meet of the like in history. She won 5 events and broke 3 world records. And you literally in like this some like knockoff interview with some guy who doesn't know anything what he's talking about. She walks through every single world record performance, like blow by blow, like all the shit she did wrong. And she's like, yeah, I was like when I made that turn, when I touched the way that I touched, at the end of this race, like I was thinking at that time, like I fucked that up. Like I didn't do that perfectly. I can do that better, you know? Like to me, like that's the epitome of growth mindset is like even when you're performing at the highest of high levels, there's still that perfect person. I mean, and yeah, asymptote maybe is closer, but there's still more in the tank. And then part of it is like she's going to the Olympics, and I'm sure she wants to believe that there's still more. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool.
You
So
kind
if
of
you had
have the
these,
Dunning-Kruger effect there too, right? Like there's the more highly you see that these highly skilled athletes see themselves as people who have so much to learn and so much to improve on. Um, and it's why they're so good is because they continually are kind of they're continually like I'm just a person. I'm just like everyone else. I'm still failing all the time and I'm trying to learn. They don't see themselves as these paragons.
I mean, another part of like the growth mindset that I think is actually super important, that I don't think we touched on last time, that actually like I learned more from being around ultra marathoning than anything is that when you ask like the highest level ultra marathoners, and their event, it could be 20 hours, it could be 3 days. Um, what the difference is, what the difference maker is. And a lot of them will say, like, how deeply do I believe in why I'm doing this? Like how much have I actually thought ahead of time? Like, what is my why for whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish here? Um, because there will come a point, in one of these like crazy 20-hour races or whatever, where I just want to fucking quit. And I have to have a really firm understanding of like why am I not going to quit at that point? Um, According to Walter, is probably the best ultramarathoner there is, and she talks about it all the time, and she talks about the pain cave and all this other stuff too. But I find it interesting, like when I talk to rowers or I talk to other kinds of athletes, they don't talk about that more, like that deep sense of motivation. Like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? How do you think that's related to growth mindset and to like cultivation of grit? Like, why care? Like, honestly.
I'll give Keith a break for a sec. So I think, I grew up being a team sport guy, and like the worst thing you could ever do is let down your teammate. Like, it's one thing to like miss a shot or whatever, but like letting, especially in a contact sport like football or lacrosse, like doing something that like allows physical harm to one of your teammates is like the worst sin in all of sports, or like you being scared and like not rising to the moment, and then everyone suffers the loss because of you. I think of a guy like, I don't know how big of football fans you are, Mark Andrews, super veteran tight end in the NFL. he just dropped a touchdown pass that the Ravens could have gone on in the playoffs. And like, I bet he feels awful because he just lets other people down. And so, like, in the boat or on the field or whatever, like, to me, when I'm out at Ranger School walking through the mountains, I'm literally falling asleep while I'm walking with a bag on. Like, the worst thing I can do is do something that like my teammates like would suffer from. And I think that is the coolest thing about human beings, that we can like kind of instinctively put that in our heads. And so I think for me, a lot of grit comes from like, yep, well, if I fail, if I let myself quit, somebody else is going to suffer, and I can't have that.
I agree with Joe. I think that's the Ranger School example. I remember when I first started, it's the kind of place where it's cold and you're tired and hungry and wet. And it's not like, just to guys give you an idea, it's not like you're getting more fit while you're here. It's just that like you're getting skinny in all the wrong ways. You're sleep deprived. You're eating trash food. You're not eating enough of this trash food. It's like preservative filled MRE food, and you're just exhausted. There's no physiological benefit. It's not like, oh, I'm at practice, I'm training for a competition. No, like you're you're being set up to perform worse and worse and worse as you go through this 60-day experience. It's not like, okay, I'm going to get better and stronger, because you're not sleeping either. And I remember looking at guys in the beginning when I first showed up, and it's cold, it's wet, it's raining. You just want to curl into a ball and sleep and be just like, kind of like, I just want to quit and curl up. And I saw guys just stoically look at everyone else and be like, hey, you guys are my mission. I want you to succeed. If you succeed, I succeed. That's my success. And I remember thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I want to be just like those guys. And I started just copying everything they did. I was like, I'm gonna act like them. I'm gonna think like them. And by the middle of Ranger School, I kind of became one of those guys. So I think that's one thing. It's the question of grit is not about a result. It's about the moment that you're experiencing pain, the moment that you're exhibiting grit. That is a moment where you are defining who you are. And every time you do that, that's an expression of who you are. So when I quit, or when I'm scared and I back away, then in that moment I'm scared and I'm backing away and I'm becoming that person. And I think for me the why is always like, who are you? Like, what kind of person do I want to be? And for me, asking myself that question when I'm running an ultra marathon, like Tom, like, what kind of person do I want to be at the end of this day? Like, even though it'll feel way better if I just quit now and walk home, like, it'll feel way worse like tomorrow morning, because I'll wake up and be like, wow, is that the kind of person I am? Right? Is that the kind of person that I want to be? So I think that's a big part of it for me as well.
Yeah, I think I've like read a bunch of studies about it actually, and I think one of the things of successful teams, and then this comes up in the wrong context all the time, is like the more you love each other, the better you're gonna do, because it creates the why. You're gonna go through a fucking brick wall because of your teammates. The interesting thing to me, actually, and then I'll ask one last question, is that even in the solitary sports, a lot of times it also comes back to people and love and connection. Like this funny story was I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I ran the uh what was it? Black Canyon, the Black Canyon 100K. It's in the fucking desert. You go through all these rivers. It's fucking miserable. It was snowing at the start that time, so they had to back up the start, which basically meant that we're going to spend way more time in the dark than we would have otherwise. I had to go, basically going to run through the night, and the first 8 miles was like this, like they call it peanut butter mud. It was like this much of like really soft mud where you couldn't get any traction. But we didn't know how much there was. And so like my instinct was like, let's just go. Let's get through this shit. And there was 8 miles of it. So by the end of 8 miles in a 62-mile race, I'm fucking toast. And then I got to the dry land, which was like kind of runnable. And I'm like, oh, this is runnable. Like I'm just gonna like take off here because like now I can run. And so basically at 31 miles, like halfway, I am completely bonked. Like I got nothing, zero. And like somehow in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, like I'm just gonna keep moving and see how this goes. And like I'm just getting past and past and past and past, right? And I'm on single track in the dark. So what that basically means is like half the time you're like swinging your head around because you're trying to figure out, you kind of sense there might be someone behind you, and but you don't want to actually stop and move off until the guy's right behind you because you don't want to waste time. Um, so you're constantly in this state of like kind of anxiety. Um, anyways, like I just got deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. And it was like it was actually like probably one of the hardest physical things I've ever done. And like in all that, like I just started thinking about my wife and my kids, like each one individually. And like and I knew my wife was like up watching me, like watching my, my tracker. Like she was definitely not gonna be going to sleep like in the middle of fucking night while I'm in the middle of like this desert, like trying not to like get bitten by rattlesnakes or whatever. And and I just remember like so I finished the punchline is I finished, but I finished like dead last, like literally last. The time cap was 20 hours and I finished like just under 20 hours. And so and in Ultra, there's actually kind of like a whole history of like celebrating the last finisher. So like there is a certain coolness factor to it, but like I literally like barely finished. And like I'm at this Starbucks because I'm like totally spent. I hadn't, I didn't eat enough or drink enough because my stomach like got all fucked up. And so I'm trying to like drink a cup of coffee and eat a piece of coffee cake or whatever. And I've missed my flight. I'm going to see Seamus, my son. And like I'm on the phone with Seamus and like I haven't slept in 20 hours. And like I can't talk because I'm crying so hard. And like I finally like a little baby like sputter out of my mouth, like, I just love you so much. And it was, and I felt it. It was like, and I just felt like I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to let his brother and sister down. I didn't want my wife down. And so like that was my why. Like I discovered my why in the course of like this ridiculous where I had put myself in the hole. Like there's no reason that I had to like, run the first half of the race as stupidly fast as I did. But even in this very solitary event, the why came back to the people in my life, which is another way I think probably what you were saying, Akib, which is like, who's the person I want to be? Like, I just didn't want to like show up. I think maybe you guys were even there, like at Seamus's house to watch the Super Bowl, like having not finished the race. Like that would have fucking sucked. Like, and so like I just wasn't gonna let that happen. Like, even though I had to suffer like more than I've ever suffered in my life, like I just was not gonna let that happen. So. Anyhow, so last question. So these guys are freshmen, sophomores in college. So like, what's like two or three tangible things you would advise them to do, like in the next 12 months of their life, to continue to develop this growth mindset, this grit, um, from your kind of years of wisdom in the wars of all this stuff, Joe?
All right. At any point, you guys can watch this video back and text me 603-502-6532. All right. My little sister is a sophomore, plays soccer at VMI. Like I hit her with rants all the time because I'm like, she's 10 years younger than me. It's like, I wish I had an older sibling. Well, I don't because I like being the oldest, but like, I wish I had somebody tell me this stuff. Here is like the most tangible things. And this is going to be completely against grit, but like be gritty about the things I'm about to say. Okay. You're not eating enough protein. All of you are going to roll your eyes and be like, oh, of course I am. No, you're not. Because if I went around right now and had you all on mute and tell me how many grams of protein you had today, you either wouldn't know or it wouldn't be enough or you'd be lying or all three. So 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. All right. Like, okay, there might be some special things about the boat. There might be some special things about whatever with your weight. Like, do that shit. Like, eat your protein. Be gritty. Stop being soft. Like, eat your protein. Okay. Let's see what else. A gallon of water a day, non-negotiable. Like non-negotiable. It happens. You do it. Like you're the kind of person that's gritty and does that. 8 hours of sleep at night. Put your fucking phone down, dude. That was my only F bomb I was gonna drop because I'm talking to myself. Really, is like every 90% of the guys you're competing against are addicted to their phone, including you. So are you gonna be like everybody else and like not sleep because you're on your phone, like texting or doing whatever thing you probably shouldn't be doing anyway? Like just put it down, go to sleep. And then you're already gonna be better than 90% of the guys who are obsessed with their phone. So that's nutrition, that's hydration, that's sleep. And then let's see. And call the people you love and not just like the high level ones, like of course calling your parents, grandparents, like family members that you are like contractually obligated to love in a lot of ways. Like call your friends, man. Like this is now like unk talking, like old head talking. Like I used to live less than a 10-minute walk from some of my best friends on the planet, and then now I have to wait until one of them gets married before I can see all of them. Like I just got to see Akib for the first time in months because we were at a Richmond for our buddies thing, and we were all looking around being like, why don't we do this more? So like text your friends, like, or go hang out with them at Wesleyan, whatever you guys do in Connecticut or whatever. Like hang out, be close to each other, because like you're gonna regret that. So you're not eating enough protein, you're not drinking enough water, your sleep sucks because you're addicted to your phone, and you don't talk to people you love in your life enough. Again, if you want more, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, last word.
I can't beat that. I mean, I think under the umbrella of Joe's, you're not eating enough protein. Take care of your body. Stretch more. It's something I struggled with. You're probably you guys might be, but like you finish a workout, and when you're young, your body just bounces back so quickly. Like you often don't need to do some of the secondary work, but I would say, guys, build the habit of stretching your body and doing the work. Strengthen your muscles and stretch your body. I don't think you guys have a problem with strengthening. I'm sure you guys have that programmed. But like make sure you're stretching even on weekends, even after your own workouts. So same thing as Joe. But the last thing I would say is be interested in school in a deep way. This is one of the only times in your life where you're getting 4 years to sit around and think and reflect and read. Really embrace that. Like talk to your professors, ask questions, be curious, develop passions outside of what you think is conventionally who you are. Because that's the time right now to figure that out. And if you do that, I think you're going to be unstoppable because the world needs more curious people. And whatever industry you go into, whatever kind of business you go into, that curiosity will take you extremely far. So be curious, take care of your body, like Joe was talking about, and then lastly, like the relationships and the friendships that you're building right now with the people that your teammates and with your friends in college, don't take those for granted. Like communicate with your friends, be there, like find the right people, and those relationships will last decades. So
Cool. I'm gonna leave it there. I know we were just running out of time, so I know I promised an hour, so I'm gonna stop there. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. Quentin, John, Max, thanks for coming out. The rest of the guys will watch it on replay. They'll now have Joe's phone number so they can call him on speed dial. So thanks, guys. Talk to you a little later.
Hit me up.
Thank you guys
Thanks.
so
Later.
much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye.